What's up guys, welcome back to Destiny Updates for my very first Bungie Weekly Update breakdown. This series replaces the weekly Mailsack breakdown, and there'll definitely be some more exciting stuff to be found here in the future. So I hope you'll enjoy watching these every week, as this epic journey to Destiny's release moves ever closer to its final destination. Well, perhaps I shouldn't say final destination. Destiny is a 10-year experience after all, and I expect these weekly updates to continue through its entirety. And the same goes for myself and this channel, of course. Now with all of that said, let's get into the update. Since this is the very first one, I'm gonna read the entire introduction. In the future, this will of course be summarized. I also plan to do some nicer editing on these in the future, I just don't have time for that at the moment. So it begins, this week at Bungie, we introduced you to a rising threat. Something has been festering deep below the surface, planning, waiting, brooding. A snarling, ferocious beast, it could not be contained. Its chains have shattered under years of strain. Once again, it's free to resume its rampage. No, we're not talking about Luke Smith, we'll unleash him later. We're talking, of course, about the Bungie Weekly Update. For the better part of a decade, Bungie has made each Friday just a little sweeter by opening, for just a moment, a window into our world. It's been a chance for us to share some of our work, along with our special brand of charm. Then, a little over 2 years ago, we found ourselves exploring the unknown space between two worlds. One world was known to millions, familiar and understood. The other was a mystery in many ways, even to us. That new world demanded our secrecy. As unnatural and unwelcome as it felt for you and for us, we shuttered our window and pulled down the shade. We went dark. Patiently but painfully, we waited, and we listened. But we couldn't risk the old level of transparency. Building a new world isn't exact science. We don't publish blueprints, at least not intentionally, and we don't paint ourselves into corners. The last time your week culminated with a proper update from Bungie, we were in a very different place. We had just celebrated our 20th anniversary. Destiny was a dream of a team that would need to grow and transform to hold fast against the sheer ambition of it all. The words used by my predecessor to hibernate the old weekly ritual were nothing short of prophetic. Like all dark times, ours will be broken first by a single strand of light, a tether reaching out to bind us all together again. One day, we will awaken in a wondrous new place, and we will remember just what it was that drew us all together at the beginning of it all. We will look up to the heavens and find hope. That moment has arrived. Consider yourselves Starside. Destiny has risen into the night sky like a full moon, bright enough to throw shadows onto the ground and guide us out of the darkness. It's still a long sail toward dawn, but we have enough ambient light on the scene to navigate the rest of this journey. As another rite of succession, I'll be your new guide. I'd like to invite you to follow along with me on this new adventure, as we finish what we started those many moons ago. Let's begin again. So I thought that was all pretty awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed my narration of that. I honestly have no idea if it sounded good or not. Please let me know in the comments what you thought. Anyways, getting into the actual meat of the update, the first segment is titled, The Best Thing That Happened This Week at Bungie, and it says, Public events received enough visual love to make them worthy of being experienced once or 100 times. Player inventories became easier to manage, with new icons for ordnance and new ways to rotate the implements of war in your arsenal. Bungie.net learned to speak Italian, and the mobile app is soon to follow. That brush with multiculturalism has inspired both versions of the site to become a little more fashionable. Internal fire teams survived scouting missions on the moon, and discovered new adventures waiting on Venus and Mars. Lunchtime was a constant battleground with spectacular collisions of space magic to nourish hungry developers. The Ghost was given an injection of fresh personality and brand new behaviors to make him a worthy companion on your missions. Our friends at Activision stopped by to sample our progress and demonstrated some stunning bravery in the face of certain doom. Finally, we met 343 in an indoor soccer arena and snatched a comeback victory from the jaws of defeat. Good game, guys. So that was all very interesting, but also quite self-explanatory. A couple things I can kind of add to or speculate on though. Firstly, public events getting enough visual love to be worthy of being experienced once or 100 times. I'm gonna guess that the visual love in question would be awesome animations and large-scale events, similar to that really cool scene of the fallen ship warping in. After that, when discussing inventories becoming easier to manage, the part that interested me there was the new ways to rotate the implements of war in your arsenal. Does that just mean on the inventory screen? Moving items between your inventory and your active slots? Or could he mean a change in how you swap weapons on the field? As in pressing Y or triangle to swap between primary and special weapons, and holding it down to access your heavy. I imagine he just meant in your inventory though, since that's what he was discussing. The other really interesting point was the ghost getting an injection of fresh personality and brand new behaviors. Does that just mean new lines for the character? Perhaps more moods, emotions, and quirks? Or could it possibly be a hint at being able to change your ghost's voice? I'm definitely hoping that'll be the case, and we do know that our ghosts are customizable. We just don't know to what extent. Next, he discusses the beta. Most of it isn't really news, but he talked about what it's like releasing this to the public, and how they can finally visualize the moment when we'll all play Destiny together. Now, he also gave out a bunch of beta codes, which is pretty awesome. I'm gonna guess that he'll be doing this more in future updates, but you obviously would have to catch them really early before they were all used. I'm sure they'll all get taken very quickly. If you want a code and can't pre-order for some reason, then it might be worth stalking Bungie.net on Friday afternoons, Pacific time, although that's just my speculation. He didn't say anywhere that he'll be doing this every week. He also said, accept no substitutes. As in, don't fall for fake deals to get beta codes, which, by the way, there have been incidents of many months ago. And he also said his advice is never share your details with anyone who isn't an official participating retailer, although to be honest, even they shouldn't need anything to give you your code once you've pre-ordered. Now, he did add something kind of interesting. He said, this doesn't mean that someone might not give you a beta code just for being you. Trusted leaders of our community may even be deputized to drive enrollment of key personnel. They may even make a game of it and set up some hoops for you to jump through to win a code of your own. So it sounds like there may be various community leaders entrusted to give out codes. Who they'll be, I don't know. He ended that segment with, the success of the beta will rely on patient, eager test subjects who want the best for all of us. We need our community on that front line when the door opens. We're invading the world of Destiny together, friends. I'm bringing as many of you along with me as I can. So one important thing to note there is when he says patient, eager test subjects, it is important to remember that when you do get into the beta, you can't expect everything to go off without a hitch. Bungie betas in the past have been very smooth. I played a ton of the Reach beta and it was a really fun, smooth experience. But on the beta's launch day, there was some server issues. I had trouble getting in. I couldn't play very much the first day. So you have to kind of expect and forgive those types of issues. The whole point of the beta is to uncover glitches and especially to apply stress testing to their servers. So I would not be at all surprised if there was some pretty significant server issues on the first day. With a beta, you just have to be patient and remember that you are a tester, and this is a beta, not a demo. And I'm not saying that the Destiny beta is going to be full of problems. Knowing Bungie, I'm sure it's going to be pretty awesome, and most of it's probably going to go off without a hitch. I'm sure we're going to have a great time playing it. But it's always possible that on day one there will be some major server issues. Again, that's one of the main points of doing a beta, to have all those kind of problems worked out so that the game runs smoothly on launch day. After that is another segment titled Location, Location, Location. I'm just going to read off most of this section. He says, when we forecast your heroic romp through our solar system, we phrase the dialogue in terms of destinations. Each of these sprawling areas of exploration, places like Mars, Venus, or even Earth, feature a variety of locations where you'll fight our enemies, search for treasure, and uncover the mysteries of our lost golden age. With the release of the Moon trailer this week, we thought we'd take a deeper dive into a destination as startlingly strange as it is familiar. Welcome to the Hellmouth. The Hellmouth has one function only, to ask of the player what lies within, says Sam Jones, lead environment artist. Now here are a bunch of concept and work in progress images, all of which have a paragraph of info from Sam Jones below them. It's all quite interesting, but reading everything would make this video too long, so I'll highlight some of the most interesting bits. If you want to read all of it, check the description for a link to the full update. This concept, one of the first we ever saw of the moon, became the moon's postcard image, a visual blueprint from which all subsequent lunar assets have been generated. For this image, he said that the Hellmouth is essentially a huge slice of Hive architecture, which indicates that the Hive actually did build this. He also said this image conveys many of the visual themes for the Hive species, those being accentuated sense of scale, menace, and a hefty touch of the exotic without being too alien. Next, he said that the Hellmouth is a fortress, cored deep into the moon, and was designed to remind you of a medieval castle, adding that this concept of the gatehouse conveys many appropriate Hive themes, including mystery, darkness, evil, strength, and militarism. Then he said they wanted to instill visual cohesion throughout. This massive chain runs deep into the dark dungeons beneath the fortress, imprisoning the Hive's most fearsome denizens. Now that chain is far bigger than the ones binding Fogoth. I can't imagine what kind of monster would be held beneath the fortress, requiring such a massive chain. Perhaps that was the entire purpose of the Hellmouth. The opening could have been made to get the creature trapped inside, and one day perhaps to be let out? I wonder if this could be the creature that was casually mentioned as a planet-crushing war beast in one old interview. That's a nickname, I'm sure, but you get the idea. I can definitely see this being a major part of the campaign. After that was a screenshot of Grognok, Bungie's world design software, saying how easy it was to create this classic lunar landscape using their new tools. This next image is pretty cool. Darren Bacon, an artist I'm sure, took an in-game screenshot of the really basic, unfinished geometry and essentially painted over it in Photoshop to embellish it. Looks pretty awesome. And then this last image is a screenshot of the final in-engine landscape, which was influenced by the Photoshop paint over above. All of that was really cool, and the final product looks amazing in my opinion. Deej ends that segment with, "Have we scared you off yet? This is just one location on the moon. Many more beckon, filled with their own reasons for you to be brave." Now that actually brought us to the end of the weekly update, but it looks like the mail sack isn't dead after all. Deej will be continuing the mail sack as a smaller segment at the end of the weekly update. For this week's sack, he chose to collect a few commonly asked beta questions and answer them here. First, what if I pre-ordered Destiny before you announced the beta? The answer, did you pre-order at a participating retailer? If you did, call them up and don't take no for an answer. Some news, no matter how wondrous, travels slowly. If you didn't reserve your copy with someone on the list, you have some tough choices to make. Loading a pool of testers into a beta is a delicate matter. We need to choose our partners wisely. Second, I live in Sweden, what do I do? He answers, then you'll need to pre-order at CDON, Komplett, or Webhallen. Sorry if I completely butchered those, I honestly have no idea how they're supposed to be pronounced. And then, the full list of participating retailers can be found here, destinythegame.com/where to buy. Third and final, what if I want to download the digital version of the game? The answer, the only way to guarantee your beta code at this time, with the exception of being the first person to claim this one, is to pre-order the game from a participating retailer. They'll gladly take your $5 to reserve for you a copy of the game, and ensure you can be one of the first to experience it as a tester in our beta. If we don't blow your mind with your first journey into our world, you could always spend the money on something else. So basically, it sounds like a no-go for digital purposes, at least for now. Also, I'd like to mention that you can pre-order at Amazon without leaving a $5 deposit and still get a code. Now, to get your question answered in future mini-sacks, it sounds like you're supposed to leave them in the comments section of the weekly update. So that, of course, brings us to the end of the first weekly update. Well, the first in this new chapter in Bungie's legacy, that is, and the first that I've ever broken down. I hope you enjoyed and are looking forward to more. If you did like the video, feel free to click that like button. It helps out a lot and is greatly appreciated. But with that, thank you very much for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next update.